Welcome to Rant on Reels. I'm Michael Fooch.
And I'm Xavier Barnett.
Today on the podcast, we will be reviewing the movie Yesterday, Annabelle Comes Home, and giving you our bottom 10 casting choices of all time.
Oh man, I'm excited to talk about the last one.
I'm really excited about this. When I was comprising this list of bottom 10 casting, I had so many choices.
Yeah, I had a lot. I couldn't stop laughing.
It was kind of hard. So how you doing this week, Xavier?
I am doing good. I'm celebrating the birth of our country.
Yes, today is Canada Day. It's what'd you do to celebrate?
What did I do? I watched movies. Good old Canadian tradition.
You sing the national anthem?
I stopped everybody. Before every movie, I went into the front and sang it. And then sat down and said, Happy Canada Day, everybody.
Did the theater join in with you?
No. They
threw popcorn at you?
They asked me to leave and not to drink and go to movies ever again.
I feel like if I was there, if I was with you, I would have sang with you.
Thanks. That means something.
Do you want to tell everyone where they can find us?
They can't find us anymore. We're canceled. This is our last episode, unfortunately.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I didn't get that memo.
Oh, okay. Well, if you do want to find us,
because we are not getting canceled.
We're not getting canceled. I'm sorry. I forgot to say that was a joke. But we're on Spotify, iTunes. We're on YouTube, and we're on. Well, I'm on Instagram. I don't know about Fooch anymore. He's just giving it up.
It's hard. It's like a full-time job.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's the price you have to pay.
I don't know if I'm willing to pay that price.
Well, you
know what? You know what I'd rather do with my time?
What? Watch a movie.
Watch movies.
Okay, and then record it on Instagram and. No,
I recorded on this wonderful podcast.
Okay, fair enough.
I want to talk a little bit about news. So, Avengers Endgame was I want to call it a re-release, but I don't actually think that's the word to call it because it's the same movie.
Oh, really?
All they did was kind of add a couple post-credit scenes. I think they might have extended the fight sequence a little bit or cut it a little bit differently.
Okay.
But I saw it on Friday, and I gotta say, the movie held up.
Well, when was the last time you saw before that?
A week ago.
So
it never left theaters. That's why I don't know if I call it a re-release. I saw it last Wednesday because I wanted to see it because once they announced it was going to be re-released, I was like, okay, I want to see the re-release version, but I want to see what's different. So I want to see it one more time. So I went to see it Wednesday, and then I went to see it again on Friday.
Wow. Someone's a huge fan. So how many times is this? 5?
6.
6? Wow. Not 100 though.
No, there's someone going for the Guinness World Record of seeing it in theaters. They were at 200 last time I checked.
Oh my goodness.
It's ridiculous. Maybe not 200, maybe 150 it was. It was something. It was a crazy number.
Jeez. That is insane.
Are you going to see the re-release version of this?
I'm going to try to see it. Very busy next couple of weeks, but I can always try and make time.
I don't think it'll be in theaters long.
Yeah.
Any other news that you want to talk about?
Will Smith. He's in his highest grossing movie ever. Can you guess what movie it is?
Well, seeing how he's only done one movie this year, I'm going to assume it is Men in Black.
He's not in that movie. Try Prince Ali. Make way for Prince Ali.
Yes, Aladdin. Are you surprised by this?
Yeah. It's kind of shocking. I thought out of all the movies, maybe I Am Legend or
I Am
Black or
Legend.
Suicide Squad.
Do you know what the movie was before Aladdin?
What movie was it?
Don't take a guess.
I want to say Independence Day.
It is Independence Day.
Wow.
I'm not really surprised it's Aladdin. Aladdin is a Disney movie. It's based off an animated kids movie. It's rated G. It's kids movies tend to do well. Parents just drag their kids to see movies. Whereas you know what teenagers do at the movies these days?
What, they just will make out and yell during the movies?
No, they don't go see the movie because they just stream it online or
that's
download
true.
it illegally.
Those freaking kids.
Think of it like this. I'll go back to Endgame for a second. Endgame made $2 billion in the first 2 weeks, and yet made 700 million since. Like, you want to explain to me how that happens?
Yeah, because people are illegally downloading it.
People exactly not going to the theaters anymore. Like, that's a huge aspect,
Yeah.
and I think that's why you see movies like Independence Day, Jurassic Park, like they hold up in terms of the amount of money they made because like people rewatch them over and over again because there was no other platform to see them.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So that means a lot of other movies could make even
I
double
feel
if
I
it wasn't for illegal.
I feel like Endgame could have made like 3 or 4 billion if people actually kind of followed a normal trajectory of a movie. Like
Yeah.
I was following like the Force Awakens kind of because Force Awakens has the most money all time in North America or for the United States, like a domestic. It's made more than Endgame has.
Avatar. Okay.
And Avatar. So what they did is they showed you like week by week how like the first 3 weeks Avengers absolutely crushed it, but Force Awakens kind of like stayed in like that $60 million range for week like 4 and 5, and then every week after week 4 and 5, Force Awakens won. And I'm trying to think, why does that happen? Like, Endgame's a better movie than Force Awakens. You're both a Star Wars guy and a Marvel guy. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah.
I would also. And I was like, so I was trying to think to myself, what's the difference? And I can only come to one thing. The internet has changed the way people consume culture.
Well, I could have told you that without going through all that research.
I didn't research. I thought about it. I spent some time thinking about it. But the internet was around when Force Awakens came out. Force Awakens is like, what, 6 years old?
Yeah, but Force Awakens also came out, I think at the time, too. It was in December.
That's another factor that probably really ranges into this,
Yeah.
or factors into this.
Because it just goes into Dead Movie Month. And once a lot of movies are going to start figuring out that that's a good spot to put in a good movie.
It really is. Well, that's how do you think Aquaman...
Oh, and Black Panther and Aquaman both made that money.
Yeah, but there's a difference. Black Panther's a good movie.
Yeah.
But Black Panther also, I think, has like it made more money than the Infinity War, right? Mm-hmm. Which is ludicrous if you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, at least domestically, not internationally. But don't you think that has a black factor to go with that?
Yeah, it could.
You,
It's been a lot of, I remember before it came out, there was a lot of people tweeted, we got to support this movie and watch it in theaters and stuff like that. So
and well, they should have. That T'Challa's a fantastic character who everyone should go and enjoy. Mm-hmm. He's my vote for who should be leading the Avengers with Steve Rogers gone. All right, ready to get started today?
Let's get her done.
All right, well, we're going to start with yesterday. So, Xavier, what are your opening thoughts on the movie Yesterday?
So I have a confession to make.
What is that confession?
I never really listened to the Beatles at all.
What do you mean you never
This is
listened to
my
the
first-
Beatles?
Like, I've heard their songs, but I didn't know it was by the Beatles. So this is my first exposure to the Beatles, and I really loved it.
So do you
I don't know what
regret...
I've been doing my whole life. I've been taking, like, it's like I hated myself for some reason and didn't want to listen to any Beatle music. But this movie made me want to look into the Beatles, and so I really like this movie. Now I guess it's going to be a personal bias for exposing me to the Beatles, so that's what I was more was really enthusiastic about it. So I wanted to hear more of the songs. I actually did think I enjoyed the main lead. Himesh Patel, was it?
Yes, he was great, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he was great. The way he delivered the lines. Lily James was always a treat. Ed Sheeran, voices as beautiful as ever. It's like, man, some people are just gifted, right? So I really, really enjoyed the movie. Thought it was a pretty strong outing. So have good ratings for this.
You know, I am shocked and kind of appalled that you don't like the Beatles or didn't know the Beatles. Like, if I could, have you ever gotten the question, if you could see any band, living or dead, who would you see? Have you ever answered that question before?
Yeah, I probably mine was always Queen.
Yours was Queen. Mine was always the Beatles. I would like the Beatles stopped touring towards the end of their time together because the concerts were so loud, the halls were so loud that you couldn't hear them play the music. Like
Wow.
that's how big and influential, right? Beatlemania, right? This was they were huge. Now, when I heard about this movie, I was so intrigued. I think the concept of this movie was so fascinating. A world without the Beatles. What would it look like? But what I was really surprised with and really enjoyed about this movie is they took that concept and they went a little bit further. It wasn't just the Beatles disappeared from the face of the earth. It was
Yeah.
like throughout the movie we were finding all these other little things that were gone, right? No
Major cultural
Coca-Cola,
phenomenon.
no cigarettes, which I guess that wouldn't be a bad thing. We find out at the end of the movie no Harry Potter. Like all of these things that you know add to the interest of this world that they've created. And they never tell us why, and we can always assume that it was because of the blackout. But I was okay with it. I had no issue with any of that, and I loved that world that they created. But most importantly, and Xavier touched on this a little bit, I love the characters. The characters I felt really connected to them. They felt
Yeah.
real. They felt believable.
Lively.
Um, you know, uh, Patel and Lily James, both of them, they were studs in this movie. Kate McKinnon was hilarious.
Oh my
Ed
goodness.
Sheeran played himself. Like I don't know if he was playing himself or was playing some version of himself, but he could act.
Yeah, he was good.
So I was really impressed with him. But I gotta be honest with you. I as much as I liked this movie's ending left me a real sour taste in my mouth. I was very disappointed with the third act. Not the whole third act. I would say the last, 10 to 15 minutes of the movie. And we'll get into it when we go into our deep dive. But it really took away the the movie that I was expecting. And I was really disappointed with it. And I'm really torn on this review. Most reviews, I write my opening thoughts and we get into our deep dive, and it's very black and white. I didn't like it or I liked it. This movie I really liked, but I don't know if I can reconcile this ending.
Seems like you got quite the dilemma.
And I do.
Well, you got time. You can decide while we deep dive into
I
it.
think that's going to be it. And I want to do this deep dive a little bit differently.
Okay.
So I think that we both can agree that I don't have any criticisms of the movie very much in terms of the way the story was told.
Okay.
So I want to just talk about the three story arcs that we can kind of talk about in this movie, and then I want to break each story arc down.
Okay.
So we'll start with the main story arc. We meet Jack Malik, who's played by Himesh Patel, and he is a failing artist. And he has one believer in this world. One believer, and that is his best friend / love interest / manager. And she loves him. He doesn't love her. Well, we don't know that. Ellie Appleton. And after playing this really big gig in Sussex, where he's from, he decides, you know what? No one was interested. Everyone walked away. This isn't happening for me. It's time to give up. And it's time to go back to teaching. And when he tells Ellie's like, you can't do this. Like, you are giving a gift to the world. Your music's awesome. Don't give up. So, he's going to give up, though. Now listen to her. Like, he's been beaten.
He's done.
He's been beaten.
It's defeated.
So, on his way home that night, he's on his bike. The power in the entire world goes out. And including the street lights, and when the power comes back on, a bus hits him. Gets concussed, loses some teeth.
Yeah.
In the hospital for a bit.
It's a miracle he lived.
It is miracle, and it's a little bit of a comedy, so it's believable in that sense. When he comes to and he gets out of the hospital, he realizes that the Beatles don't exist after playing the song yesterday, and he thinks everyone's giving him a hard time. So he makes the decision to write their music, to give the world their music back. And in a lot of ways, this is, I guess, plagiarism, but I don't think it's plagiarism. They don't exist.
Yeah.
So he decides to write their song.
It's universal
Yeah,
plagiarism.
exactly. It's completely fine. We'll talk about that in a second. So he decides to write their songs down, and then he gets lucky that Ed Sheeran listens to one and invites him to be on his tour with them. And immediately after his first show, he's picked up by a producer because they realize how amazing these songs are, and he gets to write the best album, or what is going to be known as the best album in music history.
Yeah.
And that's pretty
2019.
and that's pretty much the whole aspect of the first main story arc. Would you agree with that? So do you have any problems with any of this? Any of this main arc?
No, I didn't. I enjoyed it. I wasn't upset about it or anything. It was a good take about how the music. Well, a good idea of how the music industry is.
It is, and I got to be honest. I liked every aspect to it. Now, do you think that Jack should feel guilty about stealing the Beatles' music?
I don't know. I always. It's funny because I've had this concept. I'm like, what if I just had what if one of these guys never existed and I just took some of their music and did it? I'm like, would I feel bad about it? What would happen? Mine was always I'll take a time machine and set up that music before they released it. So I don't know. You always feel like it's not really your work. I could see him because every artist has a pride to them, right? It's the music they write, right? We see in one of the scenes he tried to put the actual song he made, and it was crapped on. So he's like, wow, my work still isn't really good, even though, and people are actually listening to it now. So I can believe he's guilty, and I can see why you're upset with the ending now. I think there would have been a better ending. I had a better ending in mind, but
So you don't like the ending either?
I don't mind the ending, but I can see it end better. I could probably write a better ending.
Okay, but so you have no problem with him stealing, quote unquote stealing?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with this at all. And here's the thing. It's not stealing. They don't exist. Well, they exist, but they never wrote it. You have it's in your memory. There's only we're going to find out in the second story arc that we're going to talk about. There are two people on the planet that do remember the Beatles, but there's no one that remembers them. It's your music to everyone else in the world.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're providing the world with good music. What is more important? Would you rather no one gave us the Beatles? That's like saying, what is your favorite thing, your favorite piece of culture?
And then it being taken away.
Or what is it? It's actually a question.
My favorite piece of culture? Let's not get into that because that's a law that I have to think long and hard about.
Give me one thing you really absolutely love.
I love
Spider-Man? Can I use Spider-Man?
Sure.
Perfect. Let's say for argument's sake that Spider-Man is one of the things that are ripped to you. Wouldn't you, and let's say someone out there remembered Spider-Man. Would you not want him to create that character and reintroduce him to the world?
Yeah, I'd be happy with it.
Exactly. He's providing in a lot of ways a service. We're talking about the greatest band of all time. Their music is so influential. They start off as a rock band, but they have a little bit of everything.
Well, it's not Coldplay. It's not Fix You.
It's a little moment in the movie when he's playing Yesterday for the first time, which has been
trailer too, though.
Oh, it's in the trailer too. Well,
yeah, they'll get it.
But it's funny because Yesterday is a lot of people call it the best rock song ever written. Mm-hmm. It's a beautifully written song. So he's playing this song what's that? And he's like, this is the greatest song ever written, written by Paul McCartney. And the people at the table are like, I don't know, Paul who? And they all think that he wrote it, and he's like, no, this is the greatest song ever. And they all call him out and be like, wow, it's no Fix You, a little bit cocky and arrogant now.
Yeah, right. They all like the song. I like that. That's a great scene. A lot of great scenes when he's writing this.
It's just so well written, so well written. Now, do you think that they were too quick or too slow in the development of this story arc?
I think it was a little bit fast. It moved a little fast for me. I find that if I'm not looking at my phone, I don't notice the pace as much as I should. If it's boring and I'm not bored, when I'm engaged, I don't even notice the pacing. But I enjoyed the pacing.
I did too. I don't think it's fast at all. I think that they realize how good of a writer he is. Think of it like in our modern day. Look, I'll use Bieber as an example. Someone I dislike. He put a couple videos on YouTube. They went viral. What happened?
He got signed.
And it was like people going to him, right? Wasn't it Timberlake and Usher that both went to try to sign him? Mm-hmm. It happened immediately. So here's what happens. This guy's given free music of like some of the Beatles' great songs, like "I Want to Hold Your Hand," which is like so good, and Ed Sheeran hears it like, I think you could work well with me. And then after the first day with him playing back in the USSR in Russia, and then him playing, what was the song he played right after, like when they were
they had the battle off?
Yeah, they had the battle off.
I forget.
So they each, after Ed Sheeran goes in and is like, oh wow, you wrote that on the plane with no music and no nothing. All right, here's what we're gonna go do. I'm gonna go into that door. You're gonna go into this door. You're gonna write a song, and whoever's the best song wins. And Ed Sheeran plays this really nice song, and then whatchamacallit, Jack comes out and he plays. Oh, what did he play?
I couldn't tell you.
Whatever it was one of their great Beatles songs. Maybe like "Let It Be" or something like. No, it wasn't "Let It Be." That was earlier in the movie.
That was just showing his parents.
Oh my god! Oh, was it "Here Comes the Sun"? No, that was when he came to L.A. Whatever it was one of the Beatles' great songs, and it was like everyone just like is impressed by this, and the manager they're in awe, and the manager comes in. And is like, would you like to sign with me? Because I will make you lots and lots of money.
We got to change your look, your design, and everything like that.
So I thought the pacing was really well done in this movie.
Mm-hmm. I didn't say I had an issue with the pace. I just said I felt maybe a little faster than normal, but now that you put it into perspective, I don't see that anymore.
No. So I have no issue with to me, the first kind of main story is a 10 out of 10 for me. Actually, I would even go say 12 out of 10. Like, it was really good. I liked everything, and I liked his guilt too that he has, right? Like, he does have a guilt, and it makes sense. Like, he has this dream when he goes on James Corden that James Corden calls him out. Oh, you didn't actually write this music.
Yeah.
And he brings out like Ringo and Paul McCartney, or Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney, to kind of like, oh, see, they knew, they always knew, and like he wakes up from this dream after, but like he's got this guilt, and so. With this guilt, I can see him eventually telling people about what he did. Mm-hmm. But that leads me to the second arc, which is why this second kind of arc and or second story arc and the third story arc, these are what's going to make me dislike the ending of this movie.
Okay.
Because of his reasons. So the second story arc are about the other two people that remember the Beatles. And we have one person in Russia as he's playing back in the USSR, and he's just kind of like, after this, he's awestruck. He's like, oh my God, the Beatles. I remember this song. And you could just see it. And then in the second one is he goes to Liverpool to kind of write some like songs from Liverpool, like Penny Lane and things like that. Because like not Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Strawberry Fields Forever. Because they're in Penny Lane. So he's like, oh, and what was the grave? Was it Lady Madonna? Not Lady Madonna.
Lady Mick Everett. I don't know.
Whatever the grave in Liverpool was. So he goes.
I'm not the Beatles fan. I recently became a fan.
Anyways, Eleanor Rigby. That's who it is.
Eleanor Rigby. There, you got it.
So that one. So he goes to Penny Lane and he's singing these songs, and this lady's like, "Oh my God, the Beatles." So there's this idea that they're gonna call him out. Right? Like, what did you think?
What did you think? They were going to call him out and be like, what are you doing? I thought one was like, maybe they're related to them in some way, and that's how they remember. I thought like maybe that's like one of the grandmothers or mothers of the Beatles or something like that. But then again, they'd be dead when I think about it.
But something, right? Like, you thought they were to call him out, be like, you're a horrible human being. Because that's how they kind of, based on the guilt of Jack, that's how it kind of looked like it was going to be.
Even at the beginning, when they first get into you have the yellow submarine, and they're like, who's your favorite Beatle, John, Paul, George, or Ringo?
At least you knew the 4 Beatles names. But absolutely. So, like, when he's doing this press conference, this lady, or at least he thinks he hears that question. Mm-hmm. And he basically calls for help in this concert he gives. So, like, his first concert, his big unveiling of his album. And after it, these two people come talk to him, and what they say to him is, "Thank you." Like, you're bringing back the music of the Beatles. Like, this means so much to us. You're giving the world a great gift.
Yeah.
That scene right there destroys the ending of the movie.
Yeah, no, it probably does. You shouldn't have guilt or anything like
Because
that.
that's it, right? Now you're giving a gift. You got to continue. The Beatles have more than 20. I'm going to assume there are 20 songs on the album. They have more than 20 great songs. There are so many. I don't know if you noticed when he's writing all the song titles. Like, the wall was full. The Beatles don't have bad songs. They're all fantastic. Mostly, I shouldn't say all. Like, they have probably a couple that aren't very good. But there were so many in the movie that still weren't played or anything like that, because there's so many. So for me, this is a big problem. And what we also find out in this scene is they give the girl from Penny Lane gives a gift to Jack. And Jack ends up driving to the middle of nowhere. And I was seeing it with my buddy Adam Weber, and Webb was like, "Oh, he's going to see Paul McCartney." But
no, we all knew it wasn't going to be McCartney.
Really? I thought he was right. I thought it was Paul McCartney.
Oh, I thought it was John Lennon.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, it was. He went to go see John Lennon. And it makes sense because John Lennon wouldn't have had fame, so he would have been assassinated.
Yes.
Which is amazing. And to me, this is even more of a reason to not have the ending that we had. Because John Lennon is alive and well.
Yeah.
So when he says at the end, "Oh, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison wrote the music. I stole it from them." They can go see John Lennon. I didn't write this. They're right there.
He's probably like, "What the heck's going on? These weirdos think I wrote this? No way."
That weirdo came to see me and wanted a hug from me. I don't know what he's talking about. He crazy.
Yeah,
Set him up.
He's definitely going into the crazy bin for the Illuminati. Next thing you know, he's going to be tweeting that the Illuminati told him to do that.
I will also say this. I really like this second story arc of this movie. Did you?
Yeah, well, it's not really a story arc. It's only seen like 3 times. It's not.
It's throughout the entire movie, though. It really is, because it's when he's in Russia. It's when he goes to Penny Lane. It's at the concert. It's the scene after with John Lennon.
Include the guilt of him feeling
with the guilt, that all kind of connects.
So then, then it is.
This is what's supposed to ease his guilt. It also shows us this world that there are other people that remember, but they can't sing, and they want this. And right, it's not just the Beatles. Even what was the Wonderwall, right, by Oasis? They're gone too. Mm-hmm. He could have added more music to his repertoire to give the world great songs. Mm-hmm. So I like this aspect that there are people that remember and how they react to it, because it's good to see, like, anyone can be like, "Oh, I have this new song and he's great," but to see people the other people that remembered it. Mm-hmm. It also shows us that this isn't going to be a dream sequence, which I think a lot of us expected. I don't know about you. I thought when I heard about the concept, I assumed when you're hit by the bus, it was a dream sequence.
Yeah.
This puts that to bed. This puts that entirely thing to bed. I thought it was about, like, kind of the lesson he's going to learn for the third story arc of this movie.
Yeah. So you thought that was good? Oh. Okay.
So you like it? You're with me so far. Mm-hmm. Again, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 on both of these story arcs of this movie.
Now it's time for the brutal story arc.
Not brutal.
Not brutal. Well,
poor choices, changes of characters, which are just horribly done. So the last story arc that I want to talk about is with the manager Ellie, who, again, I love this character. Mm-hmm. Lily James, as an actress, has a great charisma to her. She has great range that she can play, and she plays this character great. She's clearly in love with Jack, and he's clearly stupid enough not to realize, like most men in the world.
That is true.
So, on the date that Jack's about to go to California to create these albums, she finally gathers the courage and be like, "Why am I not in the love column? How did I get into the friend zone?" And Jack has no answer to this. He's like, "You just blindsided me." And he ends up going to Cali, but he immediately realizes that he's in love with this girl. So, do you have any issue with her telling him on the day he's going away? It's his big moment.
She's a gold digger. Go digging shit. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking about that. Honestly, it's probably because she figures, oh, maybe I'll never see him again. Let me just say this one thing so I can have closure. Maybe she thought he wouldn't care for her, so she just wanted closure.
It is. I think that's exactly what it does, and I have no issue with it. But to me, it's where it goes from here. Because I think that, like, again, at this point in the movie, I had not seen the kind of the guilt story arc play out yet. I'm thinking that this movie is him, like his subconscious telling him that this girl loves him, that she follows him around with puppy dog eyes, that she's the biggest supporter in his life, that you need to act on this. And I figured like we were gonna see something where like the fame and the fortune change him a little bit, and then like it's kind of she brings him back. But no, not even a little bit. The fame and fortune changes him at none at all. Not even a little bit. He's still the same cool guy, the same like guy from Sussex that he always was. And when he goes back to Liverpool, Ellie comes all the way to visit them, and they spend the day together. Right? They drink, they end up making out, and she's gonna
like, no, I'm not a one night
yeah.
stand.
Oh, I'm not gonna be one night stand, which is cool.
All month, lady, baby.
And I got no issue with that. I think that's a good scene in the movie. That she's not easy. That she is there because she loves him, and if she slept with him, it would hurt her more than it would help her. This was again a little bit of closure. So she leaves, and the next morning he wakes up and he's like, "Oh my God, I love this girl. I cannot leave without her." So he goes to run to the train station in Liverpool, and like the train for London leaves, and he thinks he misses her, and he calls her like, "I'm sorry, I tried to make this huge romantic gesture," and she picks up and she's like, "No, I'm actually behind you I'm eating some fish and chips."
Yeah,
Great sequence.
That was great.
So he comes down and kind of to talk to her, and they have this conversation, and this is where I get off on this movie. This is where I can't come to terms with. Her response to him is, "You have to choose the music or me." Which her character, he had quit music. She bought him a new guitar, gave it to him. It was her who never wanted him to quit. Mm-hmm. And now you're saying, "I want you to quit"? Like, you changed the character. He didn't get all entitled in his fame. He didn't lose himself. He wasn't, he was supposed to eat healthy. He's like still eating crap. He's still drinking. He's still being himself. He doesn't change. Why does she change? It makes no sense.
I think for where she's coming from, it's more because he's going to be famous. Famous people cheat on their high school sweethearts all the time, so she's a little bit scared.
Okay, fair enough. But don't you think that the eventual goal was him to make it big? Like, wasn't that the goal for her? For when she was managing him for the last 15 years, wasn't the goal the entire time for him to become big?
Yeah, that's true.
So then this is it.
I don't know what her goal was. Yeah. I don't know
this is it.
Was, to be honest.
This is the whole point of becoming this music career, just to sell albums. This was the whole point of it.
Wow. And she just couldn't let him get it, eh?
I don't get it. So, anyways.
Selfish.
So he's now trying to fit. It's very selfish. I don't get it. I really don't. And basically where we go from here is he goes to this first concert. He gets closure. He meets John Lennon, who kind of says, "Go be with a love." So he calls out his buddy Ed Sheeran up, and before his concert in London, he kind of has this plan. So Ellie's going to be at this concert, and he goes on stage and sings another song, "All You Need Is Love," which I expected him just to say, like, "I wrote that for my love of my life, Ellie." Like, that's what I expected here to go here. Yeah. But no. He flat out tells the world that John Lennon, Ringo Starr, George Harrison, and Paul McCartney, also known as the Beatles, wrote all the songs that I stole. Yeah, and I stole them. And I love Ellie. And he puts it all, yeah, exactly. He puts it all on the internet for free. That's what he does.
Ellie, and I'm a liar, and I'm a cheat.
But you're not.
But
you're not.
Love you, girl.
Nobody would know this. And again, 3 of the Beatles are alive. Because George would have died anyway of natural causes, right? Yeah. So 3 of the Beatles are alive. Or quote-unquote, the Beatles. You don't think that people are going to do research into this? Who really wrote these songs? Isn't there going to be questions? Isn't that how
Yeah.
reporters work?
Yeah, there's gonna be questions. He's gonna look like a crazy man.
Exactly.
Uh, no one's gonna trust the music he makes.
This to me ruined the entire movie.
Black Mirror episode.
It really does because I don't understand why you believe him. First of all, I don't understand why you would believe him.
Maybe. I wouldn't honestly. I'd be like, you could sometimes you can see it in their face, or people might think he's crazy.
I
Probably.
it, uh,
The media would probably spin it as him being crazy if this is the
I
modern day.
the this is the message I got from this movie. You can have you can have your dream, or you can have the girl. You cannot have both.
Well, you can have both, but this movie, I guess that's the message for the
It
movie.
is the message for the movie because he had to choose the love of his life or his career. And he ends up going back to teaching, which he was going to do at the beginning of the movie, but Ellie said no. If you go back to teaching, you'll always be a teacher. You need to stick with your music. But what does she want him to do at the end? Go back to teaching. And what does he do? He does. And we get a great little montage in the end. He marries Ellie. He has 2 kids. It's all wonderful.
They're all happy. Rocky's the
And he's
big old
teaching.
crazy uncle.
But oh my, like the message we get from this movie is you cannot have your dream and your girl.
I don't know. Maybe another message is, you don't need a lot of fame and fortune for happiness. Sometimes the thing that you're looking for is right in front of you all
Exactly.
along.
Dream or girl. That's that's exactly what I'm saying.
Not dream. I think his dream was to release music to the world and have people enjoy it, not the fame and fortune. That's the only thing he gave up. He's still famous. Well, technically, yeah, you'll always be famous.
Yeah, no, I agree, but but you think that's what his dream was? His dream wasn't to be playing in front of big crowds because that's what I gathered from the beginning of the movie. He wanted to be he didn't you can be you don't need a fortune, right? Like you don't need that, but like there's an element to giving your music to the fans. And you know what? His first album, like I always think of it like this, right? And this goes to even we saw this in Bohemian Rhapsody. The first album you got to do what the studio says. But as you continue to release albums, you can release your own stuff.
Yeah.
You can still continue to release with Summer or whatever his
Summer Days or
whatever his songs are. Like his first album, no. But his second album, be like, you want me to stay with your studio and write these great Beatles songs? You have to take Summer too. I want to see what people think about it now that I'm more seasoned and I'm more famous and I had even more hits. So to me, I don't see this playing out his dream.
fair enough.
So I would give this act of the movie a 5 out of 10.
It's interesting. Yeah, for me,
Probably
I
even
guess
lower.
I don't see it in that way. I see it in the aspect of, for this part, I probably give it a 7. Because I see it more as he's just sometimes rich and fame. Because it also gave a hint, like as he was in the industry, he didn't really enjoy being in the industry because the people were kind of rude. He's like, I'm around all these people that don't really care about me and don't really just insult me all the time.
You're right, but because he was at this point, he wanted to be around Ellie. Like everything was now about Ellie.
Yeah, but even then, he didn't really. I felt like he felt it was all weird. Like he said, yeah. Even when he was talking to the girl, he wasn't really like, yeah. And then the lady like kind of forced him to sign with her. You didn't get that vibe that he was kind of like weirded out by her.
Well, she was a creepy character. Absolutely, yeah. I would be too. But I don't. Again, what's your dream? Your dream is to put up with some drama to get your music out there. And I don't know. Don't get me wrong. It's just. I think it would have been better with a lot of other endings. How would you have ended it?
For me, I would have ended it with him, like accepting the closure and then starting to release some of his own songs with the Beatles.
So like I suggested.
Like yeah.
I like that. I would have liked it to be a dream. Where he wakes up and realizes that it's then maybe one or the other at least would make sense. I just didn't know. All right, anything else you want to talk about with this movie?
No, I think we're good here.
All right, what would you give this movie out of 10?
I'm gonna give it an 8.5. Nah, 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 nah. Sorry, I'll stop.
Hey, dude.
Hey, dude.
I love that scene where he's like, they made me change it. Ed Sheeran had the idea. It wasn't me. And he's like, he knows that he butchered the Beatles, and it's like he's apologizing to these two people that remember them. I'm like, I'm sorry about Hey Dude. It was Ed Sheeran. It wasn't me. I'm gonna give this movie a 7.5, and it's all from the ending. I just have a hard time reconciling that ending. And you know what? If you ask me again in a year, maybe I raise it. Maybe when I come to terms with it, come to terms with it a little bit more. But right now, I'm very like I just feel it ruined a fantastic movie with a subpar ending. And I think we've talked about this before, and I probably brought it up on the podcast before. An ending is the most important part of a movie. It's the closure. It's the last thing the audience gets. It's the last thing we remember about a movie. We don't remember the beginning. We don't remember the middle. We remember that ending. And
Well, if it's a bad movie, I always remember the best part of the movie.
there's some times where like I'm watching a movie and there's like a scene that happens and I'm like, oh my god, this is brutal. I'm not gonna like this movie. But like by the time the end comes around, I'm like, you know what? I can't forgive that little one part
Okay.
because the ending is so powerful. It's so good. It's the hook. It's what gets you.
Fair enough.
All right.
It's a good point.
Ready to move on to Annabelle?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so the second movie we're going to talk about today is Annabelle Comes Home. So Xavier, what are your opening thoughts?
Not much for this. It's very dry. I didn't find the characters engaging. The scenes weren't. Honestly, this was just very, very boring. I wasn't engaged at all, to be honest. I think I fell asleep in the third act, and then and then it was just I was just, it's just a laughable act. That's all I gotta say.
I was disappointed with this movie, and I really I really loved the first and second Conjuring. Like I think I've talked about this. Like the first Conjuring movie might be the best movie of this decade. Like in terms of horror, sorry, not the best movie of this decade. The best horror movie, pure horror movie of this decade. I liked the second movie a lot. I thought it did well. I think both Annabelle movies have been interesting, and they've done a good job coming up with the backstory to Annabelle. And I feel this movie failed on all accounts. And I think it really begins with the concept of this movie. They try to make a Conjuring / Annabelle movie, but they took out the Warrens.
Yeah, the best part of the movie.
Well, they're exactly, they're the franchise. Like when you made the first two Annabelle movies, you made it about Annabelle killing people. Mm-hmm. And then at the beginning of The Conjuring, Annabelle was taken by the Warrens and now was in the Warren safe. Yeah. And even Annabelle gets broken out in the first movie to kind of torment the daughter a little bit, but the Warrens are there to do their thing. In making this, in making the daughter the main character, and making the Warrens, being questioned as heroes or as hoaxes to the rest of the city, they took all of the suspense away from this movie. There are literally no stakes in this movie.
Yeah.
There's no one that can be hurt, no one that can die in this movie at all. There are no scares potential for you in this movie. You might jump once or twice, but guess what? Everyone's going to be okay. This movie could have been rated PG because you didn't have to worry about anyone getting scared.
Yeah, no one's going to die.
There were really no potential dangers for any character in this movie because the daughter ain't dying because she's alive in real life. And any of the friends that were going to be there, if any of them die, the Warrens, because of that newspaper article, look horrible.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to do with this. And really, this is the third movie in a row where I feel the Conjuring franchise of movies have really taken steps back.
They decided they don't know what they're doing.
We have like the Nun, the Loronda, and now this one. They need to get back to the basics of this franchise. People are possessed, and they need the Warrens to come over to help fix it.
Yeah, I think it's probably done with that.
Maybe. All right, ready to deep dive into this?
Let's get into it.
So the movie begins with The Conjuring, right? The first scene of The Conjuring. The Warrens have been called. They tell the three people that the doll is possessed, and we are taking the doll.
Yeah.
And now we go to the way home. And on the way home, they get lost, and the car ends up, quote unquote, breaking down
Yeah.
in front of a graveyard. And
There was a crash.
yeah, well, earlier on, but that's not really that relevant to this, right?
Yeah, because the girl that died in the crash was in there.
Well, yeah, because she's talking to Lorraine, but
It's cold.
so Ed is
You're
fixing the
dead.
car, and Lorraine's talking to a dead girl, and then she looks around, and there's dead people all around because Lorraine can see dead people. She's got that kind of gift.
Yeah. That's probably the scariest part of the movie.
And Ed gets attacked. No, it's not, because you know they survive.
No, it's just scary just seeing ghosts and stuff.
But like, if that was like regular people, if that was like Joe from the bridge and his wife, then I would agree with you. I'd be terrified. But Lorraine's not scared. Ed knows what he's doing. These are these people. That's their job.
Yeah, I'm not scared for them. I'm
It's the
scared
beginning
for
of the
me
movie.
If I saw that.
I
think if I was there.
Okay. So Ed gets attacked, and then Lorraine says it's the doll. The doll is a conduit for the dead. Dead people are attracted to this doll. So they put it in the famous glass case, and
they bless it.
They bless it, and that's kind of the prelude to this movie.
And then you get a long little scroll of it, how many times they bless it a day.
Yes, the whole room that they're in. What are your
Full of demon stuff.
What are your thoughts on this choice?
What, to bless?
To start the movie with The Conjuring, and not to start it right like in the present, or well, their present.
I don't know, because just to get people involved and I guess it's for people that don't know about Annabelle.
But
I haven't seen the first two Annabelles, and I could have forgot that it started Conjuring. They took the Annabelle doll, so
that's true.
A lot for
It was a good introduction for that, but I found there was no suspense. Like, unlike you, I was like, oh, yeah, there's dead people around.
Not for the characters. That's for myself. I
But,
always imagine myself there.
But you don't. I thought you were like me. You don't get scared in horror movies.
I don't. I just thought that was creepy. It wasn't scary. It's like more creepy, I guess.
Would you walk in a graveyard at night?
Hell no.
Why?
That's just asking for something bad to happen, okay?
Oh boy, you believe in ghosts?
Why not?
I don't know. Do you believe in ghosts? As I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I guess that's why you'd be afraid of walking a graveyard at night.
Yeah, you don't believe in ghosts?
No, not really.
Yeah, that's why you'd be the first to die in a scary movie.
Or the only one to survive.
No.
That would be my choice. I agree. I'd either be the first to die or the last one to survive. That would be. I think those would be. That would sum me up. So that takes us to 1 year later, and we're following Judy, who's reading a newspaper article that asks if her parents are heroes or they are hoaxes.
Hoax.
She is getting
bullied
at school because of this article.
Yeah, because their parents are ghost kids. I'd honestly, if I was a kid, I'd probably bully her too.
You would?
Just kidding.
She ends up taking crosses to school with her because we find out that she sees dead people, kind of like her mom. Do you like this story arc that she can see dead people?
I mean, I'm not surprised if it probably runs in the family.
Yeah. I think it does, take away from some of the suspense in this movie, though, right? Part of the reason why you're not like fearful of Lorraine is because she's very calm and she knows what she's doing. And, I have this problem with it because she has a good relationship with her parents, right? Yeah. She knows her parents actually are not hoaxes, that they're real. Yeah. And she knows her mom is has the same gift.
To see the shadow demon.
So why doesn't she tell her parents about this?
Who knows? Maybe she's just scared.
But why?
She doesn't want to be associated with her parents.
But
Going through.
I started this question by asking you she's close with her parents, and you said yes. So you can't just now say, oh, she wants to be close with her parents, but she actually doesn't like her parents?
No, I meant like she might not want to be associated in that lifestyle of her parents.
Maybe not, but I guess, but maybe to help her deal with it. Like she carries the cross to school because she's afraid. Otherwise, why take the cross?
Yeah.
Maybe her mom, she doesn't have to be part of the life, but her mom can help her deal with her problems.
Yeah.
So I didn't really like this choice because of how they decided to portray it. They kept it a secret from everyone except for her, and they never really did anything with it. Did they?
No.
All right. So we have the Warrens are on their way to a job. And when they go away, they hire a babysitter to spend the night at their place. In this case, it's Mary Ellen. I thought it was Mary, like Ellen was her first name, but apparently it's her full name, Mary, and then Ellen.
Oh, Mary Ellen. Yeah, it's in the '60s. There's a lot of people with names like that, like Barbara Ann.
Yeah.
Barbara Ann. They should do a movie about the Beach Boys.
We're not talking about Annabelle
know,
horror
I
right now,
know,
right?
I know.
Leave the musicals back in yesterday.
Okay.
So, I have a question for you. Does it make sense that the Warrens would have a teenage babysitter come to their house?
Well, yeah, you just told them not to touch the demon door.
Would you trust teenagers in your house with
No.
demons?
I wouldn't.
So I ask you this simple question: do you think it makes sense to, like, really smart people to allow teenagers into their house
They're
to
not
babysit
really-
their daughter
Who knows?
after that newspaper article came out?
Hey, it happens. This just trying to drive the story, baby. It doesn't make
But
sense.
that's okay. It doesn't. Like I get it. It's just it's there because we want to have teenagers get stuck in this house, and we want to see all the cool demons that the Warrens have collected over the years. So let's show them all off by having stupid people come into our house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about
Like
right.
the girl, Daniela.
Yeah. Oh my God, we need to get to her. But now Judy. No, sorry, Judy, the daughter. She is a good kid, right? And her babysitter, Mary, she's a normal babysitter. She's a good kid. She's straight as an arrow, doesn't get into any trouble. She's caring. She protects Judy. Nothing not to like about her, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's why she's allowed to stay in the house. But that makes her to her friend Daniela, because if you have the straight of an arrow kid, you need the troublemaker as a friend.
The bad girl.
And, her dad just died. And she blames herself. So she gets Mary and Judy to get out of the house. So she sneaks her way into the house. She gets enamored with the Warrens. She wants in. She wants to believe that they're actually heroes, that they can actually talk to the dead, because she wants in the house. She manipulates her way in.
And she wants to talk to her dad.
Yeah.
Everything's for her dad.
So she gets Mary and Judy out of the house. She snoops through the house to find the keys that go into the demon room. She touches literally everything in the room that says don't touch,
Yeah.
including Annabelle, who she takes out of the glass.
It all has danger. There's a card with like a freaking satyr on it. Like, come on. Like, this is classic Illuminati 101 hunting. You got to get out of there. Can't be messing around with that.
Now, I'm going to tell you this. I don't believe in demons. I don't believe in ghosts. But ask me what I would do if I was Daniela.
Would you touch it?
No! Just because I don't believe something, I'm not taking any chances. Do I look stupid? Do I have stupid written on my head?
Okay. Today, no.
I'll let someone else do the stupid things. Now, I would say this. Now, if Lorraine or Ed were there, I would touch it. Because if it was real... See, I always think of it like this. Just because I don't believe it to be true doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, there's no chances there's such things as ghosts and demons. There could be. So I'm not going to be the one that goes out and pushes it beyond my control. Like I'm not gonna be the one to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna spit in your face. Like in the first Paranormal Activity, when they think they have a ghost and they start like tormenting the ghost.
Yeah.
I'm not that person.
No, that's not a good idea. You don't want to torment the demons.
So I'm not gonna be like if I'm in a room, like let's say we're in this room and like that little cup of water started to float, and I thought
Yeah,
there was
I'd
a ghost
leave
in
the
here,
house.
I'd be leaving. I'm not gonna be stubborn about the whole not ghosts. So I'm not touching their stuff when no one's around to
I'd
protect
leave and
me.
I'd go to a
Because what
church.
about if they are right? Then I'm screwed.
Yeah. Just leave and go to a church, and then everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Or a mosque or a synagogue.
So does it at least make sense that Daniela would touch though?
Not to me. If I was a teenager, I wouldn't even touch that. They must have scary movies.
Like it's stupid, but I guess it kind of makes sense. She wants to talk to her dad.
Yeah, well, why would you go to a room that says danger, danger, demons?
I don't know. I don't know at all.
I don't think your dad's in there.
No.
I think satanic worshiper stuff is there.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Unless your dad was a satanic worshiper, he's not going to be there.
You are very right in your that. Anyways, she gets leaves the room because the cake that they're making is starting to burn, and everything goes on as normal, and the girls bond. But creepy things start to happen in the house. Daniela sees her dead dad. Judy sees Annabelle in the bride dress. Mary Ellen hears a girl knock at the door and sees her and asks if Annabelle is home. All right. So here is the question of the hour.
When are you called Warrens?
No, because there's no cell phones in this time. Are these not red flags?
Yeah. But no one talks. It's classic case of no one tells. They always do this in these Conjure movies. I find this is a classic trait that they do.
I'm gonna give Mary a pass. Mary gets a full pass on me for me.
Okay.
Because at this point in the day before it turns night, it's a girl knocking on the door. Why? That's not red flag enough for me.
Okay.
Daniela, I'm gonna give her a pass on this too.
Judy.
Hold on. Because she sees her dad, but like she wants to see her dad, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I mean, there's that. Judy does not get a pass. Do you know why Judy doesn't get a pass?
Because he got haunted by the thing twice and it kept saying, "Miss me."
There's that, but I'm not forgetting even that. She knows who Annabelle is. Remember, Annabelle, she gets haunted by Annabelle a couple months earlier.
Yeah.
So she knows who Annabelle is. She also knows what her parents do for a living. She believes in this stuff.
Well, she's a stupid kid.
But she's not supposed to be stupid. This is why it's not believable. This is why I got problems with this movie.
Yeah.
Judy's not your typical teenager. And they made her a typical teenager in this movie, and it doesn't work. It's why people don't buy into this. Daniela, I'm fine with what she does. Let her be stupid. She wants to see her dad. She wants to talk to her dad. Desperate people do desperate, stupid things. I'm buying into that. Mary Ellen, she really doesn't do stupid things in this movie.
No.
So I don't have any blame for those two.
She did every move that she was supposed to do. She called the Warrens, and then it ended up being it.
Yeah, she did everything she does. I'm fine. Mary, good character. The only thing Mary does stupid is she leaves Daniela in the house when she knows she's gonna snoop. That's literally the only thing she does. She should have gotten Daniela to take Judy out rollerblading. Mm-hmm. Other than that, but you have to push the plot forward. I get it. Yeah. Other than that, I got no issues with these two teenage girls. They do stupid things, some of them, sure, but I'm okay with that. Judy is not your typical teenager, and they write her as such, and it's bad.
Yeah, I agree.
So then,
sorry,
the shit hits the fan. Daniela, she ends up leaving, but realizes that she has the key into the secret room, so she has to sneak back into the house. And the secret room door is open. So she goes in there and ends up getting locked in.
Yeah, everyone gets trapped in a room.
And she basically gets tormented by everything in this room.
Yeah.
Mary Ellen she's tormented by the ferryman. Her boyfriend, who at this time tries to come to like sing to her and kind of woo her, is haunted by a werewolf.
The Hellhound.
The Hellhound. And Judy is haunted by Annabelle. Was this act of the movie suspenseful? This is the third act now.
I fell asleep during this act,
Yeah.
so
Well,
I kind of.
so you don't. If I ask you the scariest part, do you don't have one, or the part that maybe made you jump the
Well,
most?
like the last part I remember, and then near the end is like, so she's sitting and staring at that TV thing, and it keeps showing the future to her.
So funny.
And then
Such.
it goes away. Then I'm like, oh, okay. And then I pass out. And then I wake up, and then I see we got this thingy. We put it. I just saw them put Annabelle back. Like they run in to put Annabelle back. In the
That's
box.
you like jumped a scene because like she's gonna Daniela sees herself like get exploded or like get catch fire by touching the one thing, and she goes to touch it, but Judy stops her in time, and then they decide to go get Annabelle, so they all split up.
Yeah, I didn't see that part.
No,
Yeah, I was probably yeah. I
and then
definitely saw
eventually like they all do their own thing. So like uh, Judy has to go into the car to get Mary's asthma
Oh yeah, I remember
inhaler.
that. Oh, I remember that. They had to give.
For
the
some
inhaler
reason,
for
Mary doesn't keep it with her. She has asthma, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna keep it in my
that's a
car.
That's a dumb.
But that's not
a
her.
dumb
That's
character.
that's definitely writing things. That's definitely
Yeah.
not her. Like, come on.
No, the
She's like
character.
straight as an arrow. Like that would not be her.
I left my because they even mentioned at the beginning, and then she's like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm fine. I'm fine."
It's ridiculous. Daniela ends up getting haunted
She has
by
asthma,
the
too.
bride,
Yeah.
and then
The bride stabs her, but then she doesn't really get stabbed.
no, because it's in her head, and then
Oh.
she puts like all of her like gooey stuff through her
Oh,
mouth,
yeah, her mouth.
and she becomes the bride.
Oh, yeah, I remember
And then
seeing that part.
Mary-
So I was sleeping and Anna waking
Yeah.
up at the same part.
So Mary and Judy they go find Annabelle, and they get her. They put her in the case, and all three of them together close the case.
yeah.
I didn't really find anything super scary. I mean, if anything, the creepiest thing is the closet scene because it's dark and she sees herself, like Mary sees herself with like the ferryman's coins over her eyes. But I mean, nothing really that scary.
The thing I thought was coolest was when we see the bride walking outside and everything's falling over, and then she's walking through the mirrors, and then everything you can see her walk through the mirrors and everything. That was the coolest part of the movie. But yeah, everything else sucked.
Oh, absolutely. After Annabelle gets put in her thing, everything goes back to normal.
Which
I
is
wasn't.
weird.
I didn't like
I
that.
don't think that it could go back to normal.
Yeah,
'cause
it's like
Annabelle-
nothing happened.
you have to bless it now.
Well, they will. They're gonna bless it, but like I mean, all of like the furniture goes kind of back to normal. Like nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Weird. I guess they're in the demon world. There's a
Because I mean,
portal.
like the Hellhound destroyed like the car and a couple other
Yeah.
things.
That's weird. 'Cause, yeah, that means were they in the dynamic world or something, and then they teleported. Back
Yeah,
to
it
the real world?
was very stupid. Um,
Interdimensional.
so they end up going to tell the parents everything. Like the parents come home the next morning. Like the three of them are sleeping on the couch, like terrified. And they tell them the whole story. What do you think the parents' reaction was gonna be?
They're probably like, you shouldn't have done this, but you know what? Teenagers will be teenagers, so let's just try and help them out.
See, I never thought that. I thought they were gonna be very understanding because that's their character type.
Well,
Like
that's
they
what I did. Was that my thing was understanding.
no, but you said that
Teenagers-
I didn't even think they were gonna be like, oh, I'm very disappointed. I didn't expect that. I expected them to be like understanding about their reasons. Like, and we see this right because a week later, when no one comes to Judy's birthday, and then all of her friends kind of show up with Daniela and Mary. Lorraine takes Daniela into the room with them and like tells her what her dad was actually saying about her, and I think that's Lorraine's character is someone who's empathetic with people. They can see them if there's malice in someone's actions, and I think she realized right away that Daniela is just a scared kid, and what she didn't do because she was a rebel or she was a bad kid. I feel like she wouldn't
She's
even
just a dumb kid.
a dumb kid who was trying to get closure with her dad, and I think anyone who's empathetic can relate with that. So I never thought, and Mary and Judy, they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, they're just trying to live.
So I feel like Lorraine and Ed, they would not be even. Oh, I'm so disappointed. I don't expect that kind of conversation.
Yeah. Just no boys.
No boys. That's the
No
one
boys
rule.
over, yeah.
Yeah.
Then they'd lose their mind.
Now, at this point, I think that they can invite Mary and Daniela to babysit Judy anytime, and I have no issue because there's no way they're going back into that room.
Yeah. You
uh,
can summon all the demons you want, but if you think you're having a boy coming over, then you got another thing coming, buddy.
That's true. What? Do you think that everything happens, like the haunting happens a little too quickly in this movie?
Yeah, it's all in the thrill of one night.
I know. Normally, haunting movies take like days to do, right? It's like it
not even
starts
1 night,
slow
2 hours.
and then works its way
Yeah.
to like a week later where they're actually like being haunted.
But then again, it's an entire room full of dynamic stuff, so it probably would accelerate quite
See,
fast.
I'm almost like torn. I'm like, it's so anti like a normal horror movie, but at the same time, I feel like this is how a demonic movie should happen. It should happen over one night.
Yeah.
But
Got
yeah.
a lot of demons.
All right, so I guess my last question to you on this movie.
Does this movie suck? Yeah.
No, but like, what went wrong with it? Because you like the Conjuring universe too, right?
Not really.
No.
I don't care for it. I'm not a scary movie person.
Really?
I like the It universe.
That's a horror movie.
Yeah, that's.
But you didn't like the first Conjuring movie?
I don't even remember what happens.
Oh my god, the first Conjuring movie is so good.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, fine. Anyways, anything else you want to talk about with this movie?
Not really.
Okay.
Let's get us out. Let's get this out of here. Pump it out.
So, what are you giving this movie out of 10?
3 out of 10. Wasting my time. You can tell I fell asleep during the movie. I was fighting to fall asleep, I'm not going to lie, from the first 15 minutes. I had to walk up out of the theater and, like, refill my popcorn just so I could, like, wake up. So, that's how I feel about the movie. No good elements.
I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 10. I'm going to be a little bit more generous than you. I kind of even want to go 4.5 because there are still elements of a horror movie in there that are just good. Like it's like horror movies by genre are bad movies, right? Like they're not good movies by genre. And the reason I say this is there are stupid people in horror movies, and you have to understand them. You have to accept that in this movie. So I accept a lot of it. I think they could have done a better job if they didn't have Judy in the movie. If like Judy went with the Warrens and like two people like Daniela and maybe Mary's character, they broke into the house themselves and then they set everything off.
Oh.
That way, the stupid characters, they don't have any, or even like have it so during school, like Daniela and like two of her friends break into the house, and when Judy comes home later that day, she's like, "Oh my god, what did you do?" And like puts everything to bed herself, right? Like she's kind of like the Warren's character, yeah.
Okay.
Instead of being like three scared little girls, they could have had like maybe Judy's character being more of the strong like
I thought
I'm
they
gonna
were
fix
gonna
this.
do that with Judy's character, but they didn't. So.
No, actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I would give that movie like an 8 or 9 out of 10. I like my movie better.
Well, yeah, because you made it.
That's true.
A little bit of a bias.
A little bit. All right, that's it for us on the new movies. So because it's the end of the month, well, technically it's June 30th, but according to us,
yeah, it's the end of the month.
we are doing our bottom 10 list because it's the 5th week of a month. So this week we decided to do our top 10 worst casting movies. So the worst 10 we could think of. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
If you want to go first,
I'll go first. So I'm gonna say that I tried to avoid movies where I felt that the actor wasn't given a chance to survive because of a bad plot. So I gave it to give an example. Ryan Reynolds as the Green Lantern. I didn't put that in my list because I think Ryan Reynolds is a fantastic actor, and if the script had been done better, that he could have been a very good Green Lantern. Like I don't think he was a bad Green Lantern. I think the script failed him. So I try to avoid things like that.
Okay.
So my number 10 worst casting ever is Ezra Miller as the Flash in the Justice League, or in any other movie that he was slightly in that. Now, I'm also biased a little bit with this because I absolutely love Grant Gustin. I think Grant Gustin is the Flash that I kind of adhere to or believe in. So to me, the Flash is smart. He's charismatic. He's a natural leader. He's cool. He's collected. He's confident. And most importantly, he's not dark. Ezra Miller, on the other hand, is none of these things. He is awkward. And we see it in almost anything he's ever been in. Whether it's Perks of Being a Wallflower, where he's the outcast. He's a little awkward and Fantastic Beasts. He's always a dark kind of character. He always plays a dark character. So although, yes, the script of these movies are bad, he has none of the characteristics of any of them. He plays the Flash as a laughingstock, and I cannot take that. Because Grant Gustin would not do that, and I would have loved to see Grant Gustin in Justice League, because at least I would have seen a good Flash.
Fair enough. Me?
Your turn, number 10.
All right. My number 10 is Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. Darth Vader, one of the most feared villains of all time. One of the most powerful villains of all time. Never, doesn't look like he cries, doesn't complain, doesn't say one dumb line. Everything when his presence demands respect. Then we're introduced to Hayden Christensen, and all I hear is, I want your love. Where's my mom? I love you. You cheated against me. You putting everybody against me. He's choking people out. He's just a whiny brat going through puberty. I don't know what's going on. Just makes me want to cringe. And like, come on, the line, like, I hate sand. The way it just gets in between your feet. Like, how can you say that to a girl on a date? Like, come on. Like, what is going on here? Like, the girl would leave. Like, that is the most... I'm sorry, that's half of it's the line, the way it was written, and half of it's Hayden Christensen because he delivered it terribly. At least if it was Leo, at least it would sound interesting at least. But, yeah, that's number 10. Number 9 is Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. Mystique is a villain. Mystique is bad. There's some good, she does do some good things, but in the most parts, he does everything because he's selfish and cares mostly about herself. She's, in the comics, she's the mother of Rogue and Nightcrawler, and you see that she's very selfish, and she's not a very good mother in this. Jennifer Lawrence was casted for this, and the only way she accepted this cast was if Mystique was a good guy. So, okay, you know what? Let's do that. Why not? Hey, you want Heath Ledger? You want to cast as the Joker? Oh, but you only do it if you want to be the good guy? Okay, let's do that. That's awesome. Just keep it going. Let's just change the entire aspect of the character. You know, why not call him Batman? Let's just call him, Rhino Man, because rhinos can fight crime better than a bat could, if you ask me. Just change the characters totally up. Terrible casting. I'm sorry. That's number 8. That's number 9 for me.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, you let the actor decide whether the character is. Find a different actress.
Yeah, that's
if you envision a character to be bad, and you're like, oh, you know what? You know who would play a really bad character? Jennifer Lawrence. And she's like, well, I'll do it, but I have to be good. Well, that's not the character you envision. Go find someone else.
Terrible casting choices by definition.
Yes. My number 9 is Dacre Montgomery, who plays Jason in the Power Rangers movie, a.k.a. the Red Ranger. Now, to me, Jason, he's the leader of the Power Rangers. He's pure good. He helps other people. He is not a rebel. He is always doing good things. He's always, like, leading courses at the YMCA facility they go to in the TV show. Now let's talk about Dacre a little bit, Mr. Montgomery. Now, you know where else he's from, right?
Where is he from?
He's a TV show that's coming back this week.
Right.
He's in Stranger Things.
Oh.
He is the brother to what's the red-haired girl's name?
The new one. Oh, the new.
Max.
Yeah, Max.
So he's the brother to
Negro.
Max.
I
He
have to
plays
rewatch
Billy
some of
Hargrove
these.
in the TV show. And to me, that is exactly the kind of actor that Dacre Montgomery is. He's wicked, unpredictable in nature, violent, a sauvé, and prejudicial. And you know what? You know what the Jason was kind of in the movie Power Rangers?
That same way.
All of the above. So to me, he is more suited to be a villain. In fact, he portrays Jason as a villain for most of the movie. So I have him lower because I thought the casting direction of Jason was more to blame than him himself. I could have put him a lot higher. As you know, that's one of my least favorite movies ever made, and I almost walked out of it.
Yes.
And this is one of the major reasons. But I do find the writing and the casting choices were just as much to blame as he was. I think he was given bad material.
Mm-hmm.
And you just the wrong person, though. He's a villain. My number 8, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor
Wow, that's not number one.
in Batman vs. Superman.
That should be everybody's number one.
It's funny. My number one... Oh, well, I get to that in a minute. But here's the thing. Batman vs. Superman is like the worst movie ever made. So, like, I mean, Jesse Eisenberg, yes, okay, you're horrible. But you got... Everything's bad about this movie. There's horrible plot. They portray both Superman and Batman horribly. There are tons of writing issues. I'll give Affleck and Cavill. I'll give them the pass because, like, although Ben Affleck is way too old to be playing Batman for starting a new universe, he's not a bad Batman. And Henry Cavill, he looks like a Superman.
Yeah.
The writing's just bad. But Lex Luthor, okay, he is not portrayed by what Jesse Eisenberg's facts or what he can offer you as an actor.
No.
He is intelligent, successful, charismatic.
Tall.
Everyone else sees him as a leader.
Doesn't look like a rat.
But like the thing is, right? Like everyone thinks Lex is this great guy except for Superman. That's his problem, right? Like Superman wants to be like, Lex is bad, but everyone's like, no, he can't be bad. He's got to be good. Look at him. He's got this charisma to him. He's got ambition. He has great restraint. Right? That's how he can be seen as so good by people. He's got self-control. He's got envy. He's envious of Superman, right? Calculated. He wants to be Superman. Like that's if you could sum up like Lex Luthor, he wants to be Superman. But Jesse, he plays him way too over the top. His motivations change from scene to scene to scene. He's got no charisma. He puts a sucker in a guy's mouth. Here, eat the sucker. Come on.
Yeah. No, thank you.
He's odd. Again, the lollipop scene, like, it's odd. He's more psychopathic than he is calculated. And he's way too young to be playing Lex Luthor. And he's got hair. Weird hair.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
Apparently, Snyder wanted Cranston for the role. Like, that's who Snyder wanted to play Lex Luthor. Now, can I tell you who'd be a great Lex Luthor in my head?
Who, Kevin Spacey? He's in the bin, though.
I was going to say Bryan Cranston.
Oh, Bryan Cranston? Yeah.
That would have been great casting. I mean, we know he can be bald from Walter White.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's got, like, a charisma to him.
Yeah, but would he be too old?
Well, not with Ben Affleck being Batman.
That's true.
And, I mean, think about it. At the end of the day, Bryan Cranston turned him down because he knew there was going to be a tire fire. Yeah. So clearly Jesse Eisenberg is the second choice.
Wow, that's like, what an age gap.
I know. All right, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is, I'm going to say Daniel Craig as James Bond. Hot take, baby. Listen, I am a big fan of James Bond. And I don't think Daniel Craig emulates James Bond at all. I think he emulates a certain character we like to call Jason Bourne. And I guarantee you this next one is probably going to be John Wick and not Jason Bourne. So we'll see what happens. Even the fact that they changed so much of the character while he was casted as well. Like, it's just, I'm all the Not my James Bond. That's how I feel right now. I'm on that ad campaign for Daniel Craig. My next is Ezra Miller as the Flash. I'm not gonna lie, Grant Gustin played the Flash very well. My biggest problem though is they put Barry Allen, but they try to use Wally West's personality all the time. Barry Allen's very serious. He's very up to chase. Wally West is the Joker Flash. That the Flash in those cartoons of the Justice League. That's Wally West Flash. It's not Barry Allen Flash. So, 'cause Barry Allen was dead. Rest in peace, saving the world. Infinite Crisis. But yeah, it's just this Barry Allen is very goofy, very not smart. And for some strange reason, he's not faster than Superman, which is weird.
Well, that's not casting choices, though. Can't blame him. Can't blame Ezra Miller for. Look, I can blame Ezra Miller for a lot of things.
Yeah,
that's not one thing.
We can't blame him for that, but that just irked me about Flash. It's just everything about the way the Flash was portrayed is terrible, and it starts with the casting. Just does not look like a Barry Allen.
He doesn't act like him, though. Yeah, he doesn't. He's not like either one.
Doesn't look, doesn't act, He's not anything.
Okay. My number 7 is Colin Farrell as Alexander the Great in the movie Alexander.
Oh, that's a good...
Now, let's just start by saying this movie is a bloody train wreck. But it starts and ends with Colin Farrell. And, let's talk a little bit about Alexander the Great for a second. First, he's Greek, not Irish. He is bloodthirsty, fierce, and ambitious. For God's sakes, he conquered the entire known world by the time he was 25. Fathom that for a second.
I know.
Colin Farrell played him with his Irish accent. He played him all wrong. And if you're someone who is fierce and bloodthirsty, wouldn't you have to have screen presence? Wouldn't you have to carry yourself with?
Yeah.
And Colin Farrell, I'm confused by it because I've seen him play Jesse James. I know he has it, but he didn't show it for some reason. He made Alexander seem unsure, he was not wise or anything. He was always questioning himself. It made him seem incompetent, he couldn't do anything of value. He was always crying in the movie. He got bullied by people around him. Does that sound like someone that's bloodthirsty?
Or a leader?
It's like everyone else got their way around Alexander the Great. And look, I understand this is 2019. Or, sorry, when that came out, it was 2004. But Alexander the Great was a slaughterer, which means he slaughtered people. And I know that's not popular in the 2000s. That if that's the case, don't make an Alexander the Great movie. They made him a liberator. He liberated people. He was good to them. Sorry, not really the case. It was more of a political... This movie was more of a political message than it was a biopic. And I don't know where I see this ambitious bloodthirstiness when I see him as a liberator. So I'm sorry, but Colin Farrell apparently will not talk about playing Alexander the Great and almost quit Hollywood, which I'm glad he didn't because I like Colin Farrell as an actor. Mm-hmm. I really liked him until I saw that movie, and it took me a couple of years to get over it.
Wow, I didn't know he doesn't like talking about that. That must have made it.
It was horrible. It was a horrible movie, and I think Val Kilmer played his dad, which was also horrible casting. Mm-hmm. And Angelina Jolie played his... Man, I could just put Alexander the Great, that movie Alexander, in its own horrible casting. Jared Leto was his love in that movie.
Oh, Jared Leto was in that.
Yeah, it was horrible. No one was cast well. All right, my number 6 is Christian Bale as I'm just kidding. Christian Bale as Moses in Gods and Kings.
Oh, I remember that movie. That movie was so bad. I can't believe.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about that.
Now, in Christian Bale's defense, he has to follow up playing Moses to the great Charlton Heston. And I mean, Charlton Heston, 10 Commandments, classic movie, right? Let my people go. I can't do Charlton Heston, but let's imagine that as Charlton Heston.
Okay.
But he doesn't even come close. Again, Moses is supposed to be charismatic, leader who leads his people out of Egypt. And I know Christian Bale can do that because I've seen him play Batman. But Christian Bale played him as crazy and as an action Batman character. It was like a mixture of Batman meets American Psycho. Norman Bates.
Norman Bates.
Norman Bateman. Bateman.
Norman
Patrick Bateman.
Patrick Bateman.
Patrick Bateman meets Bruce Wayne. Like I felt like that's how he played him.
Yeah, running down the streets of Cairo with the chainsaw.
Yeah, pretty much. Now I gotta be honest. There's probably some script issues here that doesn't allow Christian Bale to show his acting chops, but it was just wrongly cast from the get-go.
That's good.
All right, you're up. Number 6.
My number 6 is The New Green Goblin by Dane DeHaan from Amazing Spider-Man 2. This is the word. I don't know what it is. What they try to do with the Green Goblin. They're trying to make him some cool, like, snowboard dude with, like, these weird things. And just, like, I know, like, not everything from the comics can fully translate to the visual. But, like, come on. He had the greatest Spider-Man outfit ever. I'm not going to lie. That's the only positive that I'll say about the Amazing Spider-Mans. They got the best Spider-Man suit. But then you go and add this crap, like this, I'm this cool skateboard, and like he looked goth and emo-y. Like, what is going on here? I don't know what kind of choice, design, style, cosmetic, I don't know. Just, it was all a big no, and very forgetful scene. Very forgetful villain. And they didn't even build up, well, that's more story. I'm going into the story, so we'll stop there. And, my next one is Mark Wahlberg as Jaeger in the Transformer films. Just Transformers, if they're gonna have a human element, it's usually a kid, like a younger person. But you got some 45-year-old man just hanging around with a bunch of robots and just yelling like, "Hey, man!" And he just did not look like an inventor. He was way too jacked, way too physically proud to look like an inventor. You know, he's like, you spend way too much in the gym. Come on, you're not really working on that kind of stuff there. So it's just, I don't know.
Need to be more of a nerdy person.
Yeah, more nerdy looking. You know, like it goes on to my next one, that will be number 4, but I'll hold off until then.
So my number 5, I kind of cheated. I doubled up on number 5.
Okay.
I have Brandon Roth and Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane and Clark Kent in Superman Returns. Because, like, I mean, you need them both here because they're both horrible. I'm going to start with Superman. I'm going to start with Brandon Roth. Superman, he's moral, intelligent, natural leader, charismatic, intimidating, but yet optimistic. Good-hearted. Let's talk about Brandon Roth. Can we talk about how uncharismatic he was in that movie? He had 4 lines of dialogue? I'm trying to remember who had more lines of dialogue. Henry Cavill in Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel combined, or Brandon Roth and Batman in Superman Returns? Because it probably is very close.
Probably would be.
He has no screen presence. He's dreary. Now, someone who's dreary, does that sound like optimistic to you?
No.
He rarely speaks. Sees evil everywhere. Do you remember the scene where he actually like spying on people with his little X-ray vision in that movie?
Actually, you don't.
He uses his power to spy on people. That's not moral. He looks pained all the time. Sorrow. He feels sorry for himself. I'm sorry. That ain't Superman.
This makes Superman seem like a loser.
And let's talk about Lois Lane. Lois Lane is one of the strongest characters, or should I say strongest female characters in the comics. Sure, she's not the smartest person in the world, but it's the strongest. She does not take crap from anyone. She goes where she wants, when she wants to go. She does not let Superman or Clark Kent tell her where she cannot go. She's independent. In the first movie, the original Superman, Lois kicks out a gun out of a robber's hand, and almost gets shot, but Clark takes the bullet. But that kind of shows you what kind of character she is, right? She is going to go in guns a blazing.
Yeah,
That's
she's
her
hot-headed.
hot-headed. Exactly. She's also a feminist. Let's talk about Kate Bosworth. I can sum her up in 4 letters: Lame.
Lame.
Lame. She's also too young for the role. You know, she's 23 when the movie came out, 22 when the
Wow.
filming.
That's
And let's also talk about the fact that Superman has been gone from Earth for 5 years. That means Clark Kent knocked her up at 16 years old,
Oh my goodness.
and yet somehow she became a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist as a 22-year-old with
Hey,
a kid.
man, talented. When you got it, you got it. Ask LeBron James.
Yeah, let's. Anyway, so 2 characters miscast in age, miscast in personality, just brutal. My number 4 is Daniel Craig as James Bond, and Xavier must have been reading my notes because I would compare Daniel Craig as Jason Bourne.
Wow.
He's James Bourne for all of us. He maybe fits in with the darkness that James Bond that they're trying to create, but that's not Bond. To me, the Bond in the movies from Sean Connery all the way to Pierce Brosnan was a great secret agent who was most importantly charming. He charmed everyone. He had a look about himself. He was witty and positive. He was very much light. He was violent for the mission, but not violent outside of the mission. He wasn't an alcoholic, right? He had a sense of humor.
He's a gentleman. Like
and I always think of the Q quote from The World Is Not Enough. So the actor who played Q from Dr. No all the way to The World Is Not Enough, he retired because he was the same actor. He says, like, I've tried to teach you 2 things, James. And one of them is that he doesn't bleed, right? He doesn't show like this fear or anything like that or to his enemies. And that's not the James Bond that we got with Daniel Craig. And, I look at Daniel Craig. First, he's too old to play Bond. He looked old, especially in Spectre.
Yeah.
He's very dark. He's violent for the sake. He gets pleasure in being violent. And that's one thing I really dislike about the Daniel Craig James Bond. There's the negativity. Everything's always negative. He's miserable all of the time. And there's no charm to him. I don't know why anyone would want to be around James Bond.
Can't even think of it for you.
Yeah. All right. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I'm sorry, but this guy looked way too good looking and way too cool to be Peter Parker. He just did not. He's a good Spider-Man though. When he was weird, he had some good quips. I enjoyed it, but that's probably more the writing. But just him as Peter Parker, just a big old no. No, thank you. I do not want. Please leave now. It's just. I felt. It's just he just didn't. It didn't have that it factor, you know. You didn't feel it. I just didn't feel that spark from him. He just didn't look like a Spider-Man. And that goes to my number 3 it's going to be Miles Teller as Mr. Fantastic. One, he's way too young. Okay, that's just going to say here. But Mr. Fantastic is the smartest mind in the Marvel Universe. Okay? Well, on Earth, that is, in the Marvel Universe. He's calm, calculated, sure of himself. He's so sure of himself that he comes off as a prick to most people, right? This Mr. Fantastic doesn't know what the heck's going on. Confused most of the time. Is a total idiot. I don't even think he came up with the plan to... Did he come up with the plan to beat him? No, he didn't. So... It's just one bad thing after the other. Oh, and he was also went rogue and ran away from his problems. Mr. Fantastic would never do that. He'd be fascinated. He'd be like, oh, this is a new journey in my life. This is amazing. I love these powers. Just, sorry, Miles Teller. I enjoy him as an actor, but as soon as I saw that casting, I was like, yeah, this movie is... I instantly thought this was going to be crap.
My number 3, Miles Teller, Mr. Fantastic, Fantastic Four.
That's hilarious.
And once again, Xavier pretty much took almost every point that I made. So I'll just start by talking about Reed Richards. Brilliant, one of the smartest men in the Marvel Cinematic or Marvel Universe, not cinematic in this case, not yet. He's a distracted person, right? Always trying to solve problems, as Xavier said. He's fascinated by things that don't go his way, right? It's like, ooh, how do I solve this problem? To the point where people are like, they think he's a dick, but he's not actually a dick.
No, he just comes off.
Yeah, but because he's a humanitarian. He's rich and famous, to the point where J. Jonah Jameson likes him. And those of you who watch Spider-Man and know J. Jonah Jameson, he likes nobody.
He doesn't like anybody.
But he likes Reed Richards. Miles Teller, as Xavier said, he's way too young to be playing Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
But second, he's a dick. He plays a dick in almost every movie he's in.
Yeah.
War Dogs, Divergent, Whiplash, that awkward moment. Like, he's a dick.
He's good at playing that dick.
He's a great dick. He if he was Johnny Storm, I might be okay with that.
He actually could.
I would have no. I think
Storm.
he fits that role because Johnny Storm's got more of the quits, right?
Yeah, that or like an Iceman, like one of those type of guys.
And because he doesn't have the look, not the look, but like the characteristics to play Reed Richards as he's supposed to. He plays Reed as boring.
Yeah,
like you're just bored of him. He's like a loner who's just bored all the entire time, and it just doesn't work.
I agree.
My number 2 is Kristen Stewart as Snow White in Snow White and the Huntsman.
I'm not shocked. That's like
Snow White is she is the fairest one of all. She's innocent, kind, and sweet. She's cheerful. Yet at the same time, she has to bloody lead a kingdom. She has to be tough. She has to be strong. She needs to be able to muster support of her kingdom to rise against the queen. I always think of. Did you ever watch this TV show Once Upon a Time?
I keep needing to watch it.
It's good. I really liked it. But Jennifer Goodwin, she plays Snow White, and I love that portrayal. And it's after the Snow White and the Huntsman, and Stewart doesn't have any characteristic of either Jennifer Goodwin or Snow White. She's quiet. She loves to pout her lips.
I don't even know how she gets.
She's bloody useless. And let's talk about leadership. She has to give this powerful speech to get all the people to fight with her. And it was more comedic. Like, there was no expression. Fight with me against the queen, will you? And everyone cheers. And you're like, why are you cheering? Why would you fight with her? She was so miscast that she was written out of the sequel.
Didn't she have a thing with the director?
Yeah, but that would have made a difference. They could have replaced the director.
No, I guess
if she was so good,
casted.
Maybe. But I'm just saying, if she was so good, like they would be like, sorry, director, we need her more than you. Mm-hmm. They made the movie with Hemsworth and Charlize Theron, but they're like, you know what, Snow, you're not good enough. We're gonna bring in Emily Blunt.
I thought it was. Oh yeah, they put in Emily Blunt, and what was the other girl? Was it Charlize?
Charlize Theron played the evil queen. She came back, right?
Yeah.
She was like the sister to Emily Blunt, like the Frozen queen.
And then I forgot. Yeah, then they had the other girl with the. She's in it. The new
Jessica Chastain.
Jessica Chastain, and she was in the crappy X-Men movie.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like the second was better, but like, I mean, at least I believe, like, the actors were all good. Yeah. Anyways, that was my number 2. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is Topher Grace as Venom. Venom, the superior Spider-Man version of Spider-Man. Big, muscular, a menacing presence. Just look. I just love the design made by Todd McFarlane. So that's why his design's pretty dirty. Just an amazing character. Eddie Brock, even like he's big, he's scary, he's a total asshole.
Yes, Eric Foreman from That 70s Show works perfectly for that role.
Eric Foreman Enter Eric Foreman, who just came out of That 70s Show. He is the perfect role to play Eddie Brock. Tall, lanky. Yeah, and he had this weird blonde haircut. He looked like, not gonna lie, he kind of looked like a meth dealer or something. He just did not look like someone, one of those people that I just played. But honestly, just the total opposite of everything Venom was. Venom was like skinnier than Spider-Man. He was smaller than the Spider-Man, I think. It just did not look good at all. I just could not enjoy it. It's just a big old no thank you. And my number one.
The number one, Xavier, who is the worst cast ever?
The worst cast ever is definitely Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I'm sorry. It's just the worst thing I've ever... Probably worst cast I've ever seen in my entire life. Lex Luthor, calm, calculated. Tall, not even tall, like older. Like, it's just... I don't even know what... When I heard that casting choice, I'm like, this movie's gonna suck. Like, I gave up on the movie there. I was just done. I'm like, please don't tell me that's actually Lex Luthor. I thought it was a joke, but no. They just kept going and going. Like, red hair. I don't even know where the hair comes from. It's just, oh my goodness. Please just, let's get a good Lex Luthor on screen, please. Thank you.
That it? That's what you gotta say?
I could go on for more, but...
I'm gonna sorry, but you're wrong. You're number one.
Okay.
It's wrong. Because there's only one. To me, number one is... So if this is number one, number two is so far down. Like, it's so far and away the worst miscast that it's not even close.
Okay.
The worst miscast actor of all time is Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars movies. All right? Now, I want to take out, like, comic book characters or characters based on books to say that the most iconic character of all time is Darth Vader. Is that a fair statement?
It's a fair statement.
He's in the conversation, at least.
Yeah.
The most iconic character. The character that was probably the most essential to the success of the original trilogy. He's complex. He has two sides to him that we really see him wrestle with in Return of the Jedi, where he ultimately has to kill the Emperor. And we can also say, even though he technically is the hero at the end of the trilogy, he is also one of the greatest villains in movie history, specifically in the first and second movie. Mm-hmm. Anakin's character when they announced they were making prequels, Anakin's character would have the weight of all of the movies on his shoulders. So his casting needed to be the most important in the entire cinema of Star Wars, because he has to become Darth Vader, the most feared character in the Star Wars universe. The character that's going to hunt down all the Jedi in between Episode 3 and Episode 4.
Yeah.
The character whose name alone causes fear through everyone. And we all saw the Rogue One scene where when he wants to have his fun.
One-shotted. Well, not one-shotted, but took out. That's the best scene in the whole movie.
So we know he's got to be most importantly casted, and yet they hire Hayden Christensen. Talk about overacting.
Yeah.
They might as well put that as his middle name. Hayden Overacting Christensen. Because that's what we got. He made Darth Vader, the most feared man in the universe, a crybaby. I got sand in my feet. I hate it.
They should have known that. That was his weakness. They should have told Luke that.
You know,
sand at his face.
And don't get me wrong. I understand. I get it. And people can comment all they want about, yes, it was a horribly written story. He was given what he had to work with. Fair enough. But you know who else was given what they worked with? Ewan McGregor. Liam Neeson. They had the same bad lines. They made it work at least somewhat. One thing that
Samuel
Hayden
Jackson.
Christensen, Samuel L. Jackson,
But he always makes it work.
yeah, he always makes it work. The one thing that Hayden Christensen had to do, the one thing it could have been as bad as he wanted. He had to show us the inner battle that he was wrestling with between the dark side and the Force. That's what we needed to see in these in the 2 movies he was in. This wrestling between good and evil. And you know what he couldn't do? That.
Yeah, he always just chose evil.
There was no wrestling with it.
Yeah, he just killed everybody.
I'm just going to kill the kids.
Kill the kids. Let's kill all the sand people.
Let's kill all the sand people. I'm just going to be bad. There was no wrestling with it. Like, and yes, writing has a play to that, but you could still act it. I believed Ewan McGregor when he didn't want to cut off Anakin's arms and legs. I believed him. I loved you.
I'm not gonna lie, that's total opposite. Like, Ewan McGregor's lines are all believable, and Anakin's just like, I hate you, but I loved you.
I loved you. You were like a brother to me.
Well,
Which actually brings me to my last point. Hayden Christensen had no chemistry with Natalie Portman.
No.
None. But you know who he had chemistry with? Ewan McGregor. There was like a bromance going on there, like a romantic chemistry. He had more of it with Obi-Wan than he did with Padme.
His love interest.
And just, just one last thing I want to say about this. This epically horrible casting to movies that do not exist to a lot of people. One actor that was turned down from this part. One actor that could have played Anakin Skywalker. Who can't act, though. At all. Leonardo DiCaprio.
I knew it. I knew it was him.
DiCaprio was turned down. One of 400 people who was turned down from the role of Anakin Skywalker. So we could get Hayden Christensen, who hates sand.
Yeah, that's funny that I said Leo could have did that line too.
I know. I thought you knew that. I thought you were playing that up. So that is our bottom 10 casting. Let us know what your thoughts. I imagine you will have Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker on your lists as well. We had some little controversial things like James Bond and a couple other things, but very similar again, Xavier. Do you have any honorable mentions you want to talk about?
Honorable mentions, probably Halle Berry as Catwoman. Tara, that's a no thank you. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool #1, and then it's his best and worst.
No, it's not. Again, that's why I would never put him on there because that's writing. We know it's writing because we saw him when he got to play it. That's all right. You cannot blame Ryan Reynolds for that atrocity.
Very defensive, eh?
Well, because we know what he did.
Love him.
He is Deadpool. Like, he is Deadpool. All right. Mine are, I have Cameron Diaz in Gangs of New York. I think she was brutal in that role. I had Val Kilmer as Batman. As one. And my last one was also Topher Grace as Eddie Brock. Those are the three that were on my short list, honorable mentions.
Yeah, it's terrible.
All right, I think that's it for the week.
Yeah.
All right, join us next week when we talk about Spider-Man: Far From Home and give you our list of our top 10 best directors of all time.
Ever.
All right, guys, have a great week.
Yeah. Peace out.